So the PR wing of music in general has long since glorified like super marathon practice sessions and players who are obsessive about their instrument. Not people who are like totally obsessed right now, but people who are actually spending like 16 hours a day on their instrument 7 days a week. From way back in the classical era to basically today. It's a fun dramatic story, you know, like the artist caught up in their work and something, or they're trying to break through to advance the craft, you know, above their contemporaries and into the future or whatever. You know, like it can be a very inspiring and dramatic story, but how necessary is it? If I was to think of like all the living guitarists today, I would think that maybe Steve Vai probably would be the one who would stand out the most. So I'll bring him up a lot in this video of people who like really went all in on like, you know, grandizing that time in their lives when they were spending all this time. And he even says, you know, kind of in the liner notes, like it wasn't always the healthiest thing to like play a lick 10 times perfectly. And if you don't hit it 10 times perfectly, then you just can't eat. You have to do it before you know, stuff like that. He'll be like, yeah, maybe that was too much. But a lot of it is like, but it was also like, you know, this waking dream that was wonderful, blah, 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 blah. While I was at music school, a lot of my friends and I were seriously inspired by these stories, which is why I'm assuming people like Vi share them. To encourage us of like, hey, that might sound insane, but just go for it, you know, just try it. And, you know, I could say, at least my life was definitely one way, and then I accidentally downloaded, you know, Vi, Satriani, Yngwie, etc. on Kazaa or whatever, and then life was another way. And sure, like my friends and I definitely could have spent time practicing smarter, not harder, but that's kind of the only way we saw to get to our goal, which was at that time to play guitar at a very high level for the rest of our lives. I think my friends and I would have practiced a little less if we were coming up today, for the same reason I think that someone like Steve Vai would have practiced less if he was coming up today. Not because we'd be also, you know, posting on social media and all that for sure, but because of the wealth of information available on the internet for almost no money, comparatively. Like tabs that are actually accurate, chords that are actually accurate, the ability to slow down songs and not have them sound ridiculous, pre-planned practice routines, you know, follow this system and that's like level 1 of how to get good, you know, all this stuff really helps simplify the process of what do I spend my time exactly on? How do I spend it the most efficiently? Like if people from the 70s were like, oh, I spent 5 hours learning this solo or something, note for note, that would mean they kind of sat by a record player with their guitar, maybe an amp, I don't know, and, you know, listened to something at full speed and then had to like, you know, move the needle and try to get in that same spot and try to play it back, try to listen carefully. And, you know, 5 hours of doing that, you know, it's kind of like loading times when you're playing video games. Half the time you're not even playing, you're just waiting for things to load. Half the time they weren't even transcribing, they were just trying to find the moment in the solo that they wanted to transcribe. We don't really need to do that today because we can just download an app or something that just slows the song down perfectly and we can learn it nice and slowly and then speed up with the app, speed up the song eventually to 100%. You know, so 5 hours today of learning a solo you like is infinitely more productive than 5 hours in the 70s. You could probably get 5 hours in the 70s amount done in 2 hours today, probably. Maybe even less. Did people from that previous era also happen to be accidentally working on their ear training so they got way better ears than we might have now? Yeah, but now we have clip-on tuners and like iReal Pro or something at the gig, and it's not as romantic, but we're certainly getting the job done quicker. Music technology was definitely way better when I went to undergrad than when Steve Vai did. But even for me, in undergrad, YouTube was basically just people dancing in their rooms. Kind of like a super DIY, low resolution TikTok. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but I'm guessing a lot of you might not have. I would certainly try to look up the Maya Ha guy, or Numa Numa, I don't know, I forget, but it was definitely just a dude with headphones in his room, just dancing to a song that was playing somewhere. And yeah, everyone wanted to see that. That's what YouTube was for. Today, though, there's got to be almost too many resources for beginner and intermediate levels. There's also quite a bit for advanced levels, but obviously it's a smaller market, so there's less of it. To a certain extent, it means something different to even be a beginner now than it used to be. In the sense of, like, I remember in an interview with Robin Ford, he mentioned that he looked up some Mickey Baker book, Guitar Volume 1 or whatever it was. And he played all these chords, and I was like, whoa, that's Volume 1? And I looked up the book, and yeah, Volume 1's really intense. Like, the first few lessons of Mickey Baker Guitar Volume 1 book, give it a shot. It's definitely not what you would think is a beginner book. It already goes over, like, here's 5 ways to play, like, G major 7, G major 9, G major 6. And here's how you would, take basic chords and apply all these chords over them, and blah, 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 and do it in every key, blah, 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 blah. And that's like lessons 1 and 2. At this point, I haven't taken any lessons from Fender Play, but I'm guessing they almost just play the guitar for you. So again, I learned in the era after Mickey Baker, but definitely pre, the last 5 years or so. So the internet, when I was coming up, was, had its own challenges. Like, are these chords actually right? Did the player actually play these tabs in this area of the fretboard, or any of these notes at all? I'm not even sure if this is the right song. Music education was just less in quantity and quality then, but now it's much, much better, and people have their own unique challenge to deal with. When videos are shot and edited beautifully, sometimes you gotta ask yourself at the end, like, did I hear a new perspective, a new opinion? Did I learn anything? Or was I simply entertained? If I saw a video that was like, getting started with Lydian, the basics, next to a video that was like, Steve Vai's favorite mode, Lydian, secrets exposed, or something like that, I'd be like, okay, I think more people are gonna click on the latter, even if the former is just a better video. Maybe it'll happen more and more, who knows, but I'd highly recommend curating carefully your own feed and not relying on just random recommended videos that are like, you clicked on this, so obviously. Build some trusted sources that you can go, all right, this would be my entertainment source, this would be my information source, this would be sometimes cool infotainment source, but trusted sources that know what they're talking about. There are certain things that are going to take a really long time, honestly, no matter what, no matter any advancements in music education technology, like short of some sort of Matrix scenario where they just plug something into the back of your head and you just know how to play jazz now. Knowing all your modes in all the keys, knowing all your arpeggios in all the keys, building a repertoire, these things just take time. And you got to ask yourself, like, do I really need that? If you want to say yes to, like, kind of every gig that comes your way, and you want to play, like, classical one day, then country, then jazz, and then blues, and then rock, and then whatever, then yeah, you might want to take the time to have a really good grasp of the guitar and of tones and feel and whatnot. But if you just love classic rock or something like that, or just blues, and you just want to play in bands that play that music, I don't know if you really need a good working knowledge of modal jazz or, serial classical music. I honestly think any hobbyist or someone who wants to specialize in a certain genre should just view these, like, epic practice session stories as entertaining and fun drama, but definitely not, like, applicable advice. However, if you wanted to be a professional, especially one that says yes to anything, then yeah, there might need to be at least a few years where you spend something like 6 to 8 hours most days a week. And it's not just, repetition at that point. You're just learning a lot of stuff. It's at the end of it, you'll know quite a bit about music. That's where something like Steve Vai's 30-hour, practice routine is actually helpful as far as topics. Because, you'll go into writing, and does that mean writing what kind of song? Writing any kind of song? Writing an instrumental arrangement? Writing a solo? Writing whatever? And then all the theory, and then how it applies to your instrument, etc., building a repertoire. Like, all these things take a lot of time. Again, not every waking day for the rest of your life, but if you're young and you have a ton of time, yeah, I might consider practicing quite a bit. As usual, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.